All right, happy Friday, everybody. We're here. We're going live. We're doing this. Let's get it started. 3, 2, 1, yo! There we go. All right. Doesn't look like notifications went out. I just had someone DM me in Discord. Didn't get a notification. Is what it is. Nothing I can do about it. So we'll give you guys just a little bit to get caught up, get in here. I do apologize about that. Not much I can do about it, but I do appreciate you guys. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Goodness, camera, what are you doing there? There we go. All right. Okay. We got some trying to get all this settled in. There we go. Yeah, man, I got something cool I want to show you guys. I'll show you here in just a little bit, so don't let me forget, but I have a neat little surprise. It won't be a part of a giveaway, and it is definitely Razorback related, and I'm kind of excited to show it off. The good stuff just keeps on coming. All right. Make sure, again, you like, share, and subscribe. If you're not already a Patreon supporter, please consider checking it out. Another DM. I too did not receive a notification. I apologize, man. Not much I can do about it. But there's Patreon. There you go. If you want to check that out. I got my notification. It says Todd. Good. So I was looking at my analytics. Again, we're going to give just another minute to let people kind of come in. I was looking at my analytics. The amount of viewers, first off, that watch these shows and are not subscribers was north of 40%. 40% of the viewers are not even subscribers. So do yourself a favor, man. Just make an account if you don't have one and subscribe, because I think that's a lot of it. Some folks just click the link and they watch through the URL. They just watch through like their Safari on their iPhones. They don't actually make a YouTube account. So consider doing that. I know we got plenty of lurkers out there as well who are subscribers. So if you have any questions or comments, fire away. Tell us something good, bro. Pigpen, I think we have an update. Well, it's not a big update. We have transfer portal news here in just a second. And we have wide receiver coach update. And then we're going to talk a little bit about this Arkansas game and how big and how I think it's a really important game for Arkansas. I hate calling games this early. I mean, we're not even in January yet, but I hate to call games like this must win. But this is pretty damn close to a must win game for Arkansas. So, yeah, I'm going to show you this thing that's really cool back here behind me. It's too big. Like I don't know how I'm going to pull it up in front of the screen. I just saved money on my car insurance by switching to Geico. Awesome. All right. Appreciate that, Brian Fraser. Thank you. Again, if you guys want to join Patreon, the link is provided for you down below. If you want to join Discord, that link is also provided for you down below in the description box. So let's start off with the wide receiver coach update. Now, you guys know how I feel about these insiders. Quotations. There's a Twitter handle who used to go by the name Hog Anonymous. He now goes by his real name, and I think he has joined the 247 staff. I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. But he was legit, and he was actually quoted by Mike Irwin as being someone, Easton May. So shout out to him and congratulations, Easton, on getting the job for 247 Sports. He also ran the Hog Anonymous Twitter page, which was he had really good information. So congratulations to him. If you guys are on that message board, or if you interact with him on Twitter, whatever, you should go congratulate him. That's a big deal to go get that gig. So again, congrats to Easton May. Then there's another Twitter handle that goes by the name HAWG Insider, Hog Insider. Now, I do not. I'm going to be real with you. I understand their pain when it comes to getting certain information and it not panning out. That is I've been burned so many times, and some stuff I don't. A lot of it I don't even tell you guys. Like there's stuff I'll get in a DM or a text or whatever, or even a phone call once that ended up being not true, or it was true, but a player changed their mind. I think Hog Insider has probably been victim to that. But then a lot of the other stuff they've posted on Twitter has been not very accurate. I don't ever want to don't go at these people. Don't go at these people on Twitter or Facebook. Don't go, feel free to call their bluff or whatever, but like don't harass them. He's now making the claim. He was not the original. There were several people around him that were talking about Louisville wide receiver coach and former Arkansas wide receiver coach, and then some, Garrick McGee. Now, you guys know we talked about Garrick McGee here. Now, at the time, I made no claims that he had even been reached out to. Hog Insider, not Hog Anonymous, who again, good guy, right? Hog Insider took to Twitter and then made it official. Like, it's only a matter of time, basically. Again, feel free to go read the tweets. I'm going to say they're ballsy. They don't delete their tweets even when they're wrong. And that usually shows a level of, maybe they really feel like they're getting good information and they're not afraid every once in a while they're going to be wrong. Nobody bats 1,000, guys. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, I talked to some very, very well plugged-in individuals, and they do not bat 1,000. Nobody does. So I'm not going to burn anybody for being wrong. They then, and by the way, Bruce Feldman, you guys know that Bruce Feldman, came out the 27th. I think it was the same day that the claim was made that Garrick McGee was going to be the Razorback wide receiver coach. Bruce Feldman on Twitter, or X, I'm still going to call it Twitter, I don't care, told reports about Louisville wide receiver coach Garrick McGee already having a done deal going to Arkansas, or any plans to join the Razorback staff are not accurate. McGee, a former Arkansas offensive coordinator, we know he was also coached receivers, great recruiter. Tulsa area would have been, I've already told you guys, like that lock, pipelines matter, and Arkansas has always kind of had a pipeline to like Memphis, like back in the day in basketball. Louisiana, parts of Louisiana, of course, Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. But he had just a hold on Tulsa as far as recruiting. Well, I was all about it. I would have liked that hire. Maybe there's still an opportunity that happens. But again, according to Bruce Feldman, that was never a thing. They never reached out to him. McGee, a former Arkansas OC, has had no contact with anyone at Arkansas. Hog Insider then goes on to say, well, despite what others say, something about McGee wanting too much money. Look, at that point, bro, you're just going to have to just take it on the chin, man. I mean, you were wrong to then say, well, he wanted too much money. Now you're getting into specifics, like how you know that. I don't know. Maybe he does. Again, maybe that I think they have been right on some things. That doesn't mean to say something like that, like, oh, he wanted too much money. That was the issue, bro. You gotta be careful, right? And now you're dialing into the specifics of a deal that, according to someone who I would trust far more, you're going against Bruce Feldman, who said there was never any contact made. Who you gonna trust? Who you gonna trust? Bruce Feldman, over 250,000 followers on Twitter, has done the college football thing on all levels, right? The guy knows what he's talking about. When I say all levels, I mean in terms of like legitimacy. Who are you going to trust, man? And not to say that you have to be Bruce Feldman to be right on stuff, but I'm sorry, I'm going with Bruce. I'm going with Bruce on this one. So be skeptical of what you read on Twitter from everyone, including Bruce. He may not know. He may have been fed some bad information. But knowing Bobby Petrino, it wouldn't shock me if that were still a possibility. It would not shock me that if now maybe they have reached out or whatever. Hog Insider is now making the claim that Arkansas has offered – was it offered Michael Smith? Let me pull this up. Was it offered or was it – again, it's at Hog Insider 101. Yeah, here it is, 2 hours ago. Breaking per sources. That's another. You need to stay away from the word sources as much as possible because now it's becoming cringe. You know, it's like when people say the word woke. Like, yeah, I get it. I agree with you. You know when they're pandering to their audience, to a certain ideology in their audience. The word woke is just it's so cringy now. Hell, saying the word cringe is cringe. But saying the word sources is just stop. It's like me with film. Yeah, I studied film. No, you didn't. You watched some videos. Just stop. Breaking per sources. I'm hearing Coach Michael Smith will be the new wide receiver coach. Maybe. Again, Brett Bielema has worked with this guy. Or excuse me, Sam Pittman has worked with this guy. They were on the same staff together when hired at the University of Arkansas. So, again, I only say this to say Hog Insider may not their batting average may not be great. And I don't know that I buy that. I don't know if I buy his version of the story about Garrick McGee. I don't know that I buy Bruce Feldman's either necessarily, not because Bruce was lying, but maybe Bruce was just fed some bad information. We know how this works too. Smoke gets put out there. You never know what to believe. That's what's crazy about all this, and that's why it's hard to delegitimize anybody because sometimes bad information is just bad information. But he's now claiming Michael Smith, and if you know anything about Michael Smith, he was here under Bielema. If this were legit, I don't know how much to believe this. I don't know. It's right out of the Sam Pittman handbook, right? To go out and hire someone that he's worked with before. And it's not that much of a stretch to imagine that, yeah, all right, this is the guy. This is someone they're going to go after. That's not that big of a stretch. You talk about, listen, pipeline states and counties, not necessarily states necessarily. You could say Texas. Arkansas doesn't target the whole state of Texas. It's mostly Dallas, Fort Worth, and then a little bit more or a little bit less, although they've got like how many guys on the roster from Houston now? They've got 2 or 3 guys on the roster from Houston. They've always been in that area, right? And then, of course, East Texas and on over. But New Orleans, this is where you need to get back into that pipeline state. I don't have to tell you guys, per capita, Louisiana at one point led all states per capita in players in the NFL. Like, they could, let's say they only had 50 players or 25 players, right? I'm not saying that this was the case. I'm just giving you a scenario, a hypothetical. If they had 25 players that were Division I, Power 5 ready, I guarantee you all 25 of those guys are SEC quality players. That's the difference between Louisiana and like everybody else. It's crazy. You know, when you're talking about per capita, right? How many players in the SEC are from California? How many of them are from anywhere in the Northwest, Northeast, right? And of course, it makes sense. Geography matters. You're going to recruit where you know, what's closest to you. But unless you're, you know, make no mistake about it, Texas, Florida, I would argue, obviously Louisiana, Ohio does really well in terms of high school kids that end up, you know, going to play major division, you know, Power 5 football anymore is what we should just call it, or Power 4, Power 3. I don't know that we should count the ACC or the Big 12 anymore. I really don't. And I've felt that way for the last several years. But, yeah, need to get back in that pipeline state, need to get back down into New Orleans. He did that. That's his background. He's from Louisiana. I wouldn't be opposed to this. Now, I know immediately you hear his name and you hear who he's associated with being under Brett Bielema. For him to have any success at that position is nothing short of incredible. And he did. Keon Hatcher, Morgan, I mean, those guys produced. And again, he also recruited his recruiting region or area was Louisiana, where I don't know how many guys in that time period. When did he join the staff? Was it 2012? And he was here I feel like he was here for a while. I swear every Louisiana player, he had something to do with their recruitment at the time based on, when he got here versus when he left. So it would help revamp Louisiana. Now, the other question is, and again, we're taking this with a grain of salt because who it's coming from. We don't even know if this is legit or not. I would say odds are, I wouldn't even say it's 50-50, but what would they do? What would Michael Smith be able to do with the talent that they have now? I don't know. I mean, I always, just like, when Kurt Anderson had 2 years here under Brett Bielema, it was a shit show. It was awful. Kurt Anderson's offensive lines were really bad. They weren't quite as bad as what we saw this year, but they were bad. They were rough. Of course, Kurt ends up going to Northwestern, and he does what? I've used him as an example earlier today in Patreon Discord. He went on and produced NFL talent at Northwestern. I'm pretty sure he had at least 2 first-round draft picks in his first, 4 years. I mean, so you can't get hung up on who coached who. I think we invest – I'm not saying it's irrelevant, but I think we put way too much into the coaching tree stuff. And by the way, you have coaches that go from tree to tree to tree. So how does that work? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. Well, he was a part of this coaching tree. Okay, but then he went on and had success elsewhere. Not talking about Michael Smith, but we've seen examples of that before. Now, I think he was just recently terminated. Yeah, in fact, he was, because if you look at his bio, he's his bio on Twitter is just wide receivers coach. And he was, now, again, another site you talk about taking with a grain of salt is Big Game Boomer. You take with a grain of salt. I mean, there's no doubt. But so Michael Smith was at South Alabama, and he did make the top 50. This was, oddly enough, this was apparently posted today by Big Game Boomer. Top 50 wide receiver coaches of the 2023 season. And our boy here comes in at 32nd at South Alabama. One of only, how many group of fives made that list? Colorado State, Chad Savage at Colorado State, Kyle Cifello at Utah State. He's one of 5 in the top 50. I don't have that font's really small. So, yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to this necessarily, but again, it would have more for me to do with recruiting the state of Louisiana. For me, that's a big deal. I also understand the other thing, here's the question. Would you rather Garrick McGee or would you rather coach Michael Smith? I would say Garrick McGee, because McGee could recruit, you talk about Oklahoma. It's not just Tulsa, by the way. McGee could recruit in a lot of places in Oklahoma, and he has several pipelines. He's been all around, just like Michael Smith has, but and he's been a part of course, most recently, Garrick McGee's also, if he were a real option, he's coming from Louisville, who just had a really good year in Power 5 football. And also, the biggest thing is that he's worked with Bobby Petrino. It helps when you understand the vernacular, when you understand the language, when you know exactly what your boss is expecting of you. And, oh, by the way, you know the blueprints because you've worked and operated the blueprints. So, yeah, McGee honestly is probably near the top of my list of wide receiver coaches. So I spent way more time on that than I wanted to, but it's a good conversation to have. I feel like you could have a whole freaking hour-long podcast on something like that if I were to actually do podcasting. This is not a podcast. This is a show. Calling someone what is very cringe these days. Calling someone ist. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Right. Yeah. Todd Smith is currently unemployed. Petrino is just a coach. He hates recruiting. Says Pigpen. I don't know. I don't know about that. I thought he did a pretty good job, pretty bang up job when he was here. Especially when you look at being able to flip Joe Adams from USC and, of course, the Warren kids. out of state recruiting, he did okay. Whoever it is, please be a good recruiter and coach, not just one. Right. Yeah. Taylor Green should be QB1 next year. That is just out of nowhere, but yeah. Maybe. We'll see. I haven't seen the floater pitch. I don't know, man. Okay, hang on. I got to read. Woo Pig Honcho says Easton May. Yeah. That's who ran Hog Anonymous. And I never followed Hog's media. I don't know. There's so many of these, it's hard to keep up with them all. Hire Saban as wide receivers coach. I think Cheesy Skull's token on something tonight. I'm afraid it's going to take Bobby a few years. I hope he's here for the long haul. A few years. Bro, he'll be like 70 at that point. Coach Chip Long was a GA under Petrino. I'm not reading all that. I was kind of surprised his name hasn't been mentioned to come back. Yeah. Let's see. It'll be my first basketball game to go to. Oh, someone's going to a game. What game are you going to, Todd? Or no, it's not Todd. Carson's. I'm not even going to try and pronounce. It'll be my first basketball game to go to, so I definitely hope we win. Hey, man, well, whatever game you're going to. I'm assuming you're going to tomorrow is what you're talking about. All right. Yeah, like, share, subscribe. Shout out to not just Patreon supporters who help make this thing go, but also our sponsors, Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company, offering 10% off any garage door repair by January 1st. Save 10%. Give them a call, 479 or 501, not 479. 501-244-3667. Same-day services, quality parts with affordable outcomes, Direct Service Overhead, they got your back. And, of course, the Odd Soul Craft Bar and Pizzeria, located on Emma Street in Springdale. Fantastic IPAs on tap, good pies, just great pizza, and fun environment. Order pizza to pick up or go and eat there. I recommend eating there, but I usually sometimes it's like it gets crowded in that place, man. I mean, that place is rocking on Friday and Saturday nights. It is rocking at the Odd Soul. But if you go, tell them Ty from Tuss Talk with Ty sent you. Tony says Arkansas cannot afford a loss tomorrow. Let's stay on football for just a second. We're going to get into this basketball game. Arkansas is going to get some visitors. I think they're expecting 3 transfers on campus. Marquise Robinson of South Alabama, 6'1", 184-pound safety. Doesn't grade out well, especially when you're playing in a conference that South Alabama plays in. When they grade out kind of low like this, I don't know. He was a 3-star JUCO corner out of the JUCO ranks in 2022 when he signed with South Alabama. You can go look at all the other numbers that we have there. I have his stats and his PFF grades. Not all PFF grades, but I have his tackle, his cover, and his overall PFF grade available for you. You just got to be a Patreon supporter to see all the stats and everything. But Marquise Robinson, I mean, okay. I'm probably more interested in his teammate, Jaden. I think it's pronounced Voisin. Someone will come along and correct me. They always do. It's so funny how people – I don't mean to be a jerk, Ty, but it's pronounced this way. Except Ty here, I've heard it pronounced this way and that way and this way. So how do you know what way? Oh, people are silly. Jaden Voisin, I think it's Voisin, Voisin. He's also out of South Alabama. Safety, 6 foot, 205 pounds. Grades out really well. Like, really well. Has pull up his where are you at, Jaden? He had this year, he's got a lot of years under his belt. Jaden has played he signed on, and I'm pretty sure he has only been at South Alabama since 2019. So yeah. But 2022 He had a forced fumble recovery, 2 picks for 44 yards, along with 80 total tackles. In 2023, he had 66 total tackles, a forced fumble, and 4 interceptions, along with 6 pass breakups. His grades are nice. His cover grade is really nice. So I think Jaden is a must-get, if you want my opinion. I like what I see there. And then Jordan Anthony, kid out of A&M. All 3 of these guys expected to be on campus to visit. We'll see if they can grab these 3, and then after that, let's assume we shouldn't do this, but just for the sake, just to look at the scholarship distribution, if they get these 3, pretty sure that puts them at 5 left. So I think they have 8 scholarships. I don't know. It's a little. We're still waiting on some other. There's an expectation that they're going to lose somebody to the portal. How many, I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see how that is. But again, Jordan Anthony, who was a wide receiver, by the way, at A&M, 5'10", 160 pounds, didn't get to play much. Like, played in, I think, 1 or 2 games. He had 3 catches for 14 yards. He also had a carry for 2 yards. So I don't know how many offensive players are in the portal for Bobby Petrino. From A&M, who played under Bobby Petrino. I think it's like 8. It might be more or around that number. Is it concerning to anybody that more players aren't trying to follow Bobby? That is something that has been in the back of my mind. I'm not saying, and I'm not suggesting that I thought they'd get 4 or 5 players out of A&M. I'm not saying that at all. Arkansas, does it say more about Bobby, or does it say more about Arkansas that this has the appearance of a sinking ship? I really thought they'd been on at least a couple of these cats, and maybe they still will be. Ole Miss, I mean, you name it. I think several SEC schools, or old SEC West schools, I should say, all have plucked away from A&M. I think Ole Miss, Mizzou, I think has, I don't know, I need to look at that list, but Arkansas right now looking to get Jordan Anthony. And again, Jordan Anthony, who was a 4-star out of high school, he signed with Kentucky in 2022, and then he transferred to A&M in 2023, where he didn't play much. So again, I don't know that he's a high-valued target out of the portal, and that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean kid can't play. I'm not suggesting that, but he's not of the upper echelon. You know what I mean? The guys that everybody wants. He's not in that bunch. So are you concerned? One way or another. I guess the real question is this a Bobby Petrino thing, or is it the appearance is Arkansas is just not in great shape? And these are just the after effects of losing. Losing has consequences. And sticking with the guy who took you to 4-8 in his 4th season, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to say this. I miss KJ already. I cried real tears. I hope Green can take us further, but I don't know, man. It's a big step from Boise State to Arkansas, or is it? I don't know if you're clowning or if you're like you legit cried. Bro. I mean, I can understand maybe losing a little bit of sleep. Like, damn. But you cried when he left? I feel like you're clowning me, man. That Woo Pig podcast is lit. Y'all need to do something together. It would be awesome. I mean, I've been over there. They've come on here. They've called in. I'd say it's Arkansas. Also, you think Bobby really had time to build that much of a relationship with him? Again, I don't know. I mean, probably not. But in this day and age, position coaches or coordinators even anymore just don't stick around very long. But even still, I mean, Trey Knox went to South Carolina, and now Rocket is in South Carolina. I mean, I don't know if that has to do with any one coach or not, but I don't know. That might be apples and oranges. I don't know. I just kind of thought with the belief is that Bobby Petrino, still holds the same amount of momentum that he once did as an offensive mind. I don't know that holds true, or at least it didn't. It wasn't enough that A&M players felt like, yeah, we got to follow that guy. But I don't know that it necessarily has much to do with Bobby. And you're not wrong. I mean, it's not like he was there for 2 or 3 years. He was there for a year. It's hard to build a relationship in that amount of time. I agree 110%. At the same time, I think if he were, listen, it's not like everyone left when Kendall left, right? Kendall didn't take the whole, a big part of the offense with him. I think this has more to do with Arkansas. Like I said, losing has consequences. I think it's more to do with Arkansas than it does Bobby. I do think if this were 10 years ago and the shoe were on the other foot, I think a lot of players would have followed, or at least a few would have followed Bobby. But he's not the same guy from what he was 10, 12 years ago. I mean, he's just not. At least he doesn't hold – I shouldn't say that. He just doesn't hold the same amount of attention that he once did, right? He's not this big-time name that the Atlanta Falcons felt the need to come and grab out of Louisville. He doesn't have that same kind of – I mean, when he took the job at Arkansas, I've told you guys time and time again, you could see the electricity in the air the day that announcement was made. The day that he arrived in town and he got on campus, it was unreal. You could feel it. You could see it. That just was – I mean, now this time around, I think it's more just with Hog fans, they're excited about getting back to that, getting back to those glory days. I think fans know that he had success here but just was unable to carry it, right? Because of the motorcycle. He was unable to keep it going. He's not exactly an upward trend hire as a coordinator. So I think it's showing a little bit, when you look at the fact that none of these guys have followed him. None of them. I mean, wouldn't you expect at least just one or two? And maybe they do get this one. I think there's a good chance they get this one, the receiver, Jordan Anthony. I don't want to bash on the guy. Again, I still think Petrino has he's still Bobby Petrino. And sometimes it's not about the playbook or the offense that you run. It's about the guy calling the plays. And that matters as much as anything, and sometimes maybe more. You have guys that probably do ride, the playbook. The West Coast offense, the way it affected the NFL in the early 90s all the way through to the greatest show on turf when Mike Martz arrived in St. Louis and took a bunch of guys, all the way to the promised land. Different. Mike Martz is different. I mean, he didn't just ride the playbook. He was a hell of a play caller. But there were a number of guys from that era that did ride the playbook. And that happens to this day, I think. And sometimes it's just more about the guy calling the plays. And that's what Petrino is. And they were better. A&M was better on offense last year than they were the previous year. The numbers back that up. Maybe not across the board, but for the most part, A&M was better off with Bobby as an offense coordinator. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I don't want to make any broad. I don't want to say anything concrete. But it is hard for me to imagine Arkansas being the same or worse than what they were last year. It's hard for me to see that, especially with Bobby calling the plays. So Bobby, I think you could give him you can give him a random ass playbook. I think he would find a way, given a little bit of time, his staff, right, his guys, his players. That's a different story. I think he would find a way to have success with it. But at the same time, he just doesn't have that energy that he once had. And maybe he can get that straightened out here, his second go-around at Arkansas. So those three players, again, Jordan Anthony, the A&M transfer, I feel pretty good about him. So at least you'll grab one of those guys that he coached. We'll see what they do about the guys out of South Alabama. Remember, final signing period is in February. So we'll see, and that's, we'll see what happens there, how Arkansas straightens this thing out. Miles Rouser is back in the portal. I don't know if we talked about that. Miles Rouser's back in the portal, 6'1", 195 pound. We know he had the off-the-field issues. But damn, this dude grades out well. PFF gives him a very high tackle grade. Again, I don't know that Arkansas has offered him. I think I understand the maybe there might be some character issues that they might be concerned about if you're going to throw out a scholarship offer. But we know they're going to grab one, maybe two more defensive backs. Why wouldn't you go after Miles Rouser? Because somebody else will. Rouser is him. This dude grades out really well, has numbers to back it up at New Mexico State. 70 tackles, forced fumble, interception for 31 yards, he has 5 total pass breakups. But someone had told me they thought he was dealing with some injury stuff in 2022. I don't know. I don't know. Take that for what it is. But 2023, though, he grades out, again, very high. His tackle grade is great. I'll just say that. But we know he was once committed to Arkansas. He's out of Michigan. He was a 4-star. He just hit the portal, I think, on December 27th. I haven't heard an update that Arkansas's offered him. I did add him to the list of portal players. I don't think he's been offered as far as I know. Listen, someone else is going to go get him. I haven't had an update on him. Let's see. Let me copy and paste. Google, copy, paste, Miles Rouser. What is there anything on him? Is he committed somewhere yet? Illinois has offered Miles Rouser. Did he commit? Hold up. Illinois offer, transfer. Okay, so it looks like he has not committed anywhere yet, but Illinois has thrown him an offer. It doesn't look like Arkansas has officially offered him yet. Rouser was a 4-star prospect, class of 2022, earned offers from Alabama, blah, 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 Notre Dame, Michigan. He originally committed to Michigan and then to Arkansas before ultimately signing with Campbell. Of course, we know why he had to. Playing cornerback, Rouser earned freshman All-American honors in one season with the Camels, totaling 44 tackles, a tackle for loss, and 1 interception with 3 other pass breakups. That was at Campbell. Go get him. Go do it. I don't know why you wouldn't, man. I mean, Illinois offered him. He's going to get more if he hadn't already by the time this thing was written. I say go get him now. Jalen Catalon is the D Rose of college football. Yeah, he can't stay healthy. You're not wrong, Carson. You're not wrong, my guy. He has a hard time staying healthy. Wonder what the word on McAdoo is. I don't have anything on you there. I wish I did, but I don't. Ty, what do you think we need to improve on? This is from, how do I pronounce your name, man? I'm just going to say McGinnis because I can pronounce that part. I don't know if it's Jadalyn McGinnis. Ty, what do you think we need to improve on overall for us to at least win 8 games? Oh, my God, man. that's a whole hour. I don't know. Across the board, line of scrimmage, build from the inside out. On both sides of the ball. I like where they're going on the defensive line, but the offensive line just, oh my God. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'd like to see a reset at wide receiver, but that's not gonna happen. I'm okay with Armstrong coming back. But everyone else, and Centennia I want to see come back. Everyone else I'm not so sure. Dozier maybe. But there's so much room for improvement across the board. I like what's going on at tight end. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. We'll see about Green, the quarterback. I don't want to – I don't know what to make of him. It's always – I mean, you're not going out and grabbing a guy who – in Taylon Green, you're not grabbing a guy who's like a group of 5 all-conference world beater, right? I mean, he lost his starting job and graded out awful. And we've gone over his actual in-depth passing pressure numbers and everything. They're not good. They're below KJ's. But then he comes out in their conference championship game, and he does look like a world beater. I don't know what to make of him yet. I just don't. I think he's got great playmaking ability. In the defense, I still think interior defensive line. I think they're headed in the right direction with linebackers, especially with Shaw. But he's going to be a freshman, so you never really know what to make of that. But for the most part, he's going to be lucky to make. Even though I think Shaw's great, he's going to be lucky to make 2 deep. But I could see him being a 3 deep special teams guy. Don't know what to make of this new kicker. You lost Cam Little. I think that's actually potentially a pretty big blow. Well, they just need help across the board. I'd like to see them do a little bit. The portal, they've still got some room left there, right? We know they're going to make some changes. They're going to hit up the portal. They've still got some spots. I don't know. I don't know how they get to 8 wins. I just don't. Someone shot me a text and said that Vegas, and I don't know that I'm not a gambler. I have no idea when they put out odds, but apparently Vegas has us at 5.5 wins next year. Now, anyone who's a gambler who keeps up with all that, please correct me if I'm wrong. I thought that was a little soon for them to put out anything like that, but it wouldn't shock me if that was legit. To get to 6 wins, it's going to come down to offensive line and just how good is the quarterback, Criswell and Talon Green, whoever wins that starting job. I feel like it's going to be Green. But you never know. I mean, we always like the shiny new object like you guys did with Criswell last year. Everyone was in the put in Criswell. Well, I mean, you did. Look what happened. He got destroyed. He was sacked 1,700 times, fumbled the ball 3 times. 90-something total yards passing. I mean, it was awful. It was exactly what I was telling you guys. It was exactly what I was telling people in Discord. You put him out there, it's going to be as bad or worse. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. Yeah, we've got to give these quarterbacks an opportunity to make plays, and unfortunately, that's just not been the case. At least it wasn't in 2023. Let's see them in a functioning, well-oiled offense where the quarterbacks have time. I mean, we keep talking about KJ's reads. I don't know. Whatever. You guys know a hell of a lot more about quarterback making reads than I do, apparently, and Stephen Hamner included, because the guy wasn't given time to make a lot of reads, to go through his reads. They need to be in a well-oiled, fully functional offensive line, but a well-oiled machine on offense, and give these quarterbacks time, give these running backs lanes to run through. I could go on and on about what they need to do just to get to 6 wins. I don't want to make any prediction yet. I'm not saying it's impossible at all. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I'm not trying to be at all. But a lot of work, man. And it's not to say that they can't get there, and maybe Green. Listen, I love what that cat can do on the ground. I love what he can do with his feet. He is exciting. If you haven't watched video on him, go watch his highlights. They are fun. And who knows, man? Maybe I'm underestimating him. I think as a runner, I think he's going to be a great player. I really do. I think he's got a lot of potential as a thrower, as a pure passer. I think there's some work, some things that need to be done there. Talon's a project player. Doubt he's doing much next year. He does kind of come off as a project guy. He does. You're not wrong about that. McAdoo suffered cervical spine injury. I wouldn't expect him back. I didn't know that. Was it I knew it was something. I thought it was something with his back. I don't know. Bumble says it was probably not going to happen. He's probably not going to come back. Bobby ain't calling shot as a whole, just on the offense. Bobby ain't calling shots as a whole. Right. Yeah. Yeah, Petrino's. Yeah, this is Sam's job, right? This is Pittman's. Pittman gets the final say. All Bobby can do is make recommendations. All right, let's move on to Arkansas and UNCW. It's hard to talk ball when you know that people are already fickle Razorback fans are already kind of over it, and we're not even in January yet. But it's hard to blame anybody. I mean, Arkansas hasn't exactly lit the world on fire outside of that win against Purdue. And then when they beat Duke, that was impressive. And it still kind of feels like, I mean, there's so much work for this team. Again, you're talking about transitioning from football, talking about what they got to do to get to 6 wins next year. The question for Arkansas basketball is just getting to enough wins to make a tournament this year. This game, there's a lot riding on this game, potentially. UNC is not a high net ranking team. It's not to say that if you lose, you're out of the tournament. It's way too early. And it's in some ways kind of hard to right now it's hard to see Arkansas doing a lot of damage with what we saw the last several weeks, over the last several weeks. Other than the Duke game, I don't think they've looked really bad. They have not looked like the team that took on and beat Purdue. Call that game whatever you want. I don't care. I mean, Purdue clearly wanted to win that game. I mean, those guys were battling it out. Their star player on the floor in the final minutes of that game. Guys with bruises. I mean, come on, dude. They wanted to win that game as badly as Arkansas did, and you know their fans their fans on Twitter were saying we went there to get better. Arkansas went there to win a game or whatever. No, they both were there on the floor battling it out, and Arkansas won that game. But since then, it's not been pretty. And UNCW, these guys are no joke. Went on the road, and we've talked about this before, and I said months ago, this is the game, at least 5 weeks ago or so, that this is going to be a tough one. UNCW, the Seahawks are good. Went on the road and beat Kentucky at Rupp. Scoring offense, these guys are legit. Now, I'm going to say some of their stats are padded. They have 3 100-plus games, and all 3 of them are against teams you wouldn't even know where their schools are at. Now, you could argue there's plenty of mid-majors that are like that. You have no idea where some of these teams are at, and yet some of those same teams can also make runs in the tournament. That's what's great about college basketball. It's what's great about March Madness. But UNCW, their net ranking is not good for a reason, and they really only have one great win under their belt so far, and again, that was beating Kentucky at Rupp. That was incredible. How much of that was Kentucky overlooking these guys? Maybe. Yeah, that could have been the case. It's hard to judge teams like this. I mean, but I'll tell you, based on what I've seen, listening to Must talk about these guys, and just based on their numbers, again, numbers only tell a part of the story. Film tells the rest. The video tells the rest. But there's some things here that stand out about these guys. Again, scoring offense, they're at 85.4 points per game. That's good enough for top 20 in the country. That's wild for any mid-major, group of 5, power 5. I don't care. That's crazy. 85 points, top 20 in the country. Arkansas's not far behind. They're only averaging about 5 points less, but that puts you back at 69th in the country. Their scoring defense, both these teams, not great. They're 170. They're giving up about 71 points a game. Arkansas's giving up 75. So they're at 172nd there. Arkansas's at 273rd. There's 6 pages. When you go to NCAA stats, when you look at there's 6 pages worth of teams. That's like page 5. That's horrible. But again, if you're going to argue strength of schedule so far, Arkansas blows these guys out of the water in terms of who they've played against. Field goal percentage. These guys are top 50 in the country. That's not bad when you're top 50 in this particular stat. If you're top 50 in a number of stats, you're probably a pretty good team because there's 300 and whatever amount of teams in college basketball. But they're at 48% in field goal percentage. Again, that's 47th. Arkansas they're not far behind here at 47.6%. That's good enough for 62nd. Here's where things get interesting. 3-point stats here. They average 24 attempts per game, which is good enough for 103rd. Arkansas at 19.4, which is 281. That's not a big shock to anybody. But they're 46th in the country in three-pointers made per game. So they're just north of 9 threes made per game. Arkansas 244th. So just to give you an idea there, 3-point percentage, again, this is where they start to separate. This is probably one of the best perimeter working teams that I think this is the best perimeter working team they've played so far. They're 21st in the country in 3-point percentage at almost 39%, 9 threes made again per game. Arkansas, who's surprisingly a little bit better than I thought they would be. I figured they were at 30% on the year. They're almost 35% at 124th nationally. But we know how bad Arkansas's perimeter defense has been this year. Arkansas opponents are averaging 33% shooting outside. That's 202nd in the country. It's bad. It's really bad. I mean, that's not good, especially this early in the year. We'll see if this thing evens itself out. Maybe they can climb into the top 150. But their perimeter defense, I'm shocked at how atrocious they are as a perimeter defense, and the numbers, you see it in the numbers. Teams are shooting. It's actually closer to 34%, I think, last I saw. That's not good. It's not. Did I think it would be a little bit worse? I thought it might be 35, 36%, but that's still not good. Now, here's where Arkansas starts to separate itself. Here's where Arkansas has an advantage, and that's fouls and free throws. Fouls per game, Arkansas fouls a lot. Okay, they're averaging 20 fouls a game. These guys average 17 point whatever, almost 18 fouls a game. That's 171st. Free throws per game. Arkansas is one of the – they're damn near elite in this category. Again, not surprising. Almost 27 free throws per game. Hogs get just north of 19 points per game off free throws alone, which is good enough for 13th best in the country. Now, UNCW is not bad here, but it's still Arkansas 60 spots better. They're 67th in free throws. They're getting about 22 per game. Now, they shoot everyone. I mean, this shouldn't surprise anybody. They shoot at 75%. That's really good. 50. That's it's not great. That's really good. That's right around top 60. Arkansas's at 71.6% at the free throw line. Listen, that's an area that they have gotten better at. Okay, I think there was like the first 8 games or something. They were 66%, or it was something not great at the free throw line. And keep in mind, they haven't played any away games. They've played neutral site. They've not played away games yet. And that for that number to be that low is really bad. They're not a great rebounding team. 234th in the country. Arkansas 140th. Arkansas averaging almost 38. We know that blocking, Arkansas is elite here. This is a category where they are actually elite. They're 4th in the country at almost 7 blocks per game. The only other stat that kind of stands out for these guys is, and this is also where it gets interesting, bench points. You wouldn't know it, but these guys are first in the country in bench points. They're deep. They're deep. They've got quality players, man. I mean, they've got about 3 guys off that bench they rely on, and we're going to go over their names here in a minute. Almost 41 points a game off the bench. That is insane. That's really high. That's really good. Not unheard of by any stretch of the imagination, but that's really high. 41 points. Of course, as the season goes on, these numbers are they're going to come down and go up, but Arkansas 7th. Okay, they're getting almost 38 points off the bench. We know mostly this last game, you had a completely different starting five, and you had Mark and Battle coming off the bench. Battle typically comes off the bench. He's going to get a lot of points, so that helps. But Arkansas has also been able to rely on a couple other guys from time to time to come off the bench and get them some quick points. Now, they don't mind going guard heavy, and what an interesting time, because Arkansas figures out last week in the second half, wait a minute, we need to go guard. We need to play a little bit smaller. Let's go guard heavy. They play 4 guards on the floor, and I think it was Lawson who was the 5th. So they go guard heavy and turn it around and score 55 points in the second half. I don't know that they've done that maybe one other time this year where they've scored 55 points or more. So maybe this could be a very interesting matchup, because you could have 8 guards on the floor in this game, 4 for Arkansas and 4 for UNC Wilmington. Now their guards, this is the difference. Most of their guards, outside of Noah Ross and Malik Harden, and I think Ross kind of plays kind of like a 4 spot. He's more of a traditional or a non-traditional 4. But he's 6'7", 205, Noah Ross is. He's getting about 15 minutes a game. He's averaging 3 points, 3 rebounds. Kamari McGriff, their true forward, who kind of plays, he plays that 5-4 spot, 6'9", 210. He's getting about 13 minutes, but he's getting about 3 points. But the guy that you need to keep an eye on is number 13, Trazarian White, the 6'7" forward. This is another guy that could play in multiple roles. He could be a big problem. 19 points, almost 6 rebounds, nearly 2 assists, 1 steal, and only averages turning the ball over 1.7 times a game. I mean, this dude, he's shooting 45%. He can. I don't know much about his mid-range game, but he's someone who could be a big thorn in your side. I'd love to see this cat get into some foul trouble. If they could get him 2 quick fouls in the first half, it would be great. But Trazarian White appears to be the real deal. He's a junior. Again, he's about 6'7", 195 pounds, give or take. They've also got a grad transfer, and another senior, KJ Jenkins, who's 6'2", 180-pound guard, and Nick Farr, I think he's a senior, or he's a super senior. He's another 6'7" guy. They could play with a little bit of size between the 3 and the 5. But most, again, you're talking about Shaquem Phillips, who's 6'1", 6'2", 190 pounds. Donovan Newby, who's 6'1", 185 pounds. And then KG Jenkins, who's 6'2", 180 pounds. But then, again, 3 to 5, they're 3 to 5 or 4 to 5 spots. They could play with a little bit of size. Arkansas new starting 5, down nearly double digits versus Abilene Christian. Muss brought Chandler Lawson to the forward spot, or he was your 5, so kind of played a different role there. But not a different role, but and then went with 4 guards: Tremont Mark, Keon Minifield, and Devontae Davis and Khalif Battle. Arkansas would go on to score 55 points in the second half, grabbing a nice 83-73 lead. We know how this thing started, one of the worst first halves of Arkansas basketball, and that's saying something. That's saying a lot because of how horrible Arkansas's been, this year at times. And at other times, they've played great. So do we see Chandler Lawson, Tremont Mark, Keon Minifield, Devo, and Battle as a starting 5? Or do they at least just get significant minutes? I think the odds are likely. Someone was asking about Brazil in chat. I don't know what's going on, man. I think since his injury, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. He looks timid at times, and then other times not so timid. I really don't know what's going on with his game. Some other UNC Wilmington extra info. When they beat Kentucky at Rupp, they at one point had a 14-point lead. They've scored 100-plus 3 times this year. Again, I think those were kind of stat-padded games. There was one game they beat someone by like 50 points. It was a school that you couldn't even click on ESPN. I mean, it was definitely one of those kind of games. It's a padded stat kind of game, and that's what it was. And I think some of these numbers. That's why I say they don't tell the whole story. They could tell you a part of the story. Now, their quad victories so far. And again, it's way early on net rankings, but I still kind of want to go over it just so far. And we know these numbers will also change. Who's considered a quad 1, quad 2, quad 3, quad 4. But right now, UNC Wilmington's 107th on the net rankings. Their overall, where'd it go? Their road victories, they're 5-1. Neutral floor, they're 1-1. Against quad 1 opponents, they're 1-0. Quad 2, they're 0-1. Quad 3, they're 2-1. Quad 4, they're 3-0. So that's where they stand right now, just in terms of quad. And I know it's way early, but whatever. Arkansas with that record, 8-4 record, 1-3 on neutral floor. That's not good. I mean, that's something, and unfortunately, you're not going to be able to rectify that. But at home, you're 7-1. Okay, they have no true road games yet, so they're 0-0 there. Which again, that's something too we have to discuss. Like eventually down the road, when they rack up some good road games, that net ranking, if you can grab some wins, you're gonna catapult. But home, they're 7-1. Quad 1 currently, Arkansas's 1-3. Of course, we know the Purdue game doesn't count. That was exhibition. They haven't played any quad 2s so far. Quad 3, they're 2-1. Quad 4, they're 5-0. So they are unbeaten against quad 4 as expected. So just kind of some extra stuff there. Yeah, these guys can they can mix it up. They don't have to go 4 guards. They can play with a couple 6'9", 6'7" guys. Well, really, they only have one 6'9", but they can play with a couple 6'7" guys if they want to match you up in terms of length on the floor. This is going to be a test. I mean, these guys, they have great looks outside. They take them. And they're gonna probably try. Arkansas's weakness is perimeter shooting. That's their weakness, whether it's mid range or if it's behind the 3-point. It doesn't matter. Their defense outside 12, I would say 13 feet and beyond, has been so suspect this year. And I don't know if going with these guards, going guard heavy, is going to fix that or not. You would hope so with 4 guards on the floor, but we'll see how they handle transition on both sides of the floor, offense and defense. Again, when you're guard heavy like that, you would assume they're getting back quicker. You know, you should be, if you're playing smaller, you think they should be playing faster. It's not always the case, but that's what one would assume. Can't stop the drive and close out. Says Cheesy. Our guards not defending is the reason we block a lot. Well, I mean, I think it's a little more complicated than that, Fish, but I mean, you're not entirely wrong. Just hoping Minifield is the answer. He's looked great. He's looked great, though. Exactly what we've been needing. Will initiate the offense, attack the rim hard, distribute the ball on offense, and give A+ effort on D. Yeah, Ryan, I agree. I think Minifield so far has lived up to the expectations that I've had for him. I mean, I'm all about this dude. The offense, to some degree, has to flow through him. To some degree. I'm not saying he's got to be the heaviest distributor all the time. I mean, if he's a point guard, that's what you would expect from the point guard. He's got to be the leader, and he's got to distribute. He's got to find the open looks. He's got to draw attention from time to time, and he does some of that stuff. He's not afraid to drive from what little we've seen. And maybe we'll see him kick it out more and he'll find someone open, or maybe it'll help open up spacing a little bit. Maybe some more open looks outside. Maybe they can get hot out in the perimeter and he can help facilitate all that. Maybe the offense nothing will ever completely flow through anybody in a must-style offense, or in a must-style play of basketball, but he's got to be someone that you have to be able to rely on, and someone who can also give, like you said, A+ effort on both sides of the floor, and I think Minifield can do that. Really high on Minifield. I love the dude. I love that dude's smile. I don't know what it is. When I see him smiling, puts a smile on my face. I think it's contagious because I think the guys around him like playing with him. Minifield, I'm not saying he's got to be the answer. I'm not saying that, but he's certainly got to be a big part of the answer. So I'm looking forward to see how they respond. I'm really curious to see what they do with their rotation and how often we see 4 guards on the floor. I feel like it's going to be a lot to match up with these guys, and I think Muss just kind of wants to go that route anyways. I think he wants to play or at least get more guards the opportunity, right? What does this mean for the other guys? I don't know. Pinions, to nobody's surprise, Pinions losing minutes. Hey, Woo Pig with the super chat. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate you. When is Ty going on the Woo Pig pod? Yeah, I need to get back on there. Pretty sure they do like open call-ins. I need to call back in. I don't think Woo Pig is doing anything else, right? Until after January 1st. It's probably not a bad idea to take a vacation. I'm not gonna lie. I've taken it easy a little bit lately. Not gonna lie. Ty, this is Muss's most talented team, and they are underperforming. I agree. I think it's coaching, says Charles. Muss needs to take a look in the mirror and make some coaching adjustments. Bench Devo. Sorry. I was trying to say Muss. I was thinking something else. For Muss, we know I don't think he plays favorites. I mean, we've seen him bench guys who you wouldn't think he would bench. I remember him and God bless, J.D. Note. You could name several guys. I mean, he just would bench. Remember Chris Likes? How Chris Likes was getting all those minutes a couple of years ago, and then they just vanished. He went from, 30 minutes a game down to 10, 12. He will make the necessary adjustments. I don't know if this is a coaching thing necessarily, or if it's a guys just not knowing once again how to play well together. If it's a chemistry thing, I don't know. And if it is a chemistry thing, then I guess it's a reflection of coaching. But I don't know. I mean, right now it's a stretch to put them in the tournament. I mean, that's what's crazy is right now it's a stretch. They're going to have to win some games they're not supposed to win. Win out at home, and that is a tall order when you consider who they have left. Really quick, let's go back to UNC Wilmington. Trezarian White, we already talked about it. This dude's averaging about 27 minutes a game, 19 points. This dude averages 19 points, almost 6 rebounds, nearly 2 assists, a steal a game, nearly a block a game, and only 1.7 turnovers a game. Clearly, this dude is such a big part of what they do. Shaquem Phillips is another guy. They have 3 players on their roster. When they get minutes, they're averaging hold on. No, it's 2. It's 2 players. Okay. All right. So Donovan Newby is not 3 assists. He's 2 assists. I swear that was 3 assists earlier. But, okay, Shaquem Phillips is 3.3 assists according to ESPN per game. He's averaging close to 2 steals. They average about 7 steals a game, but they're averaging over 13 assists a game. I mean, this is, 13 assists and just 9 turnovers. That's their assist-to-turnover ratio. And Shaquem Phillips, it seems like a lot of the offense, and I haven't seen a lot of these guys. I haven't watched a whole bunch of them. I've just kind of found what I can here and there. But clearly this guy can impact the game in a number of different ways. Shaquem Phillips could be a big pain in your ass. He's getting 24 minutes a game, 14 points, 3 rebounds, and again, 3.3 assists per game and 2 steals. Yeah, they're not turning the ball over a whole lot. They don't have anybody that averages 2 turnovers a game. I mean, they're just playing really sound basketball. They're shooting, again, right at about 39% outside. This is going to be a tall task for Arkansas. That being said, we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to take Arkansas. Only because it could be a blowout one way or the other. I don't know. If Arkansas plays anything like they did in the last game in the first half, and that's what's weird about this, right? If they look like they did in the first half, Wilmington will have a 15-plus point lead at halftime. Arkansas cannot come out flat. We cannot talk about how the rims are not agreeing with Arkansas, like the rims are rejecting everything from Arkansas. Nothing's dropping for the Hogs on the offensive end of the floor. They can't come out flat. You can't have guys standing around, especially out and around the perimeter. We saw a little bit more ball movement, even in the first half at times their last matchup, their last game. But still, more times than not, more times than not, it was a lot. It just looked flat. You did see guys standing around. Can't do that, man. Like no silly turnovers. None of this 3 turnovers and 6 possessions. None of this 50-50 shit. None of that, man. Got to play a higher quality of ball. And if you come out flat and look the way you did against in your last game in the first half, yeah, these guys will have a 15-plus point lead at half, digging yourself into a really deep hole in the second half. But I do like Arkansas because I don't know that UNC Wilmington really knows what to expect. And what Arkansas did in the second half of that 4-guard lineup and with Lawson, and now maybe you have a little bit better idea and you've had some time to kind of work on it. That's the other thing. Sometimes time is it's not always on your side. You haven't been in that rhythm. Last year you played 6 games in the month of December. This year you only played 5. I know it's only 1, but that still, you've only got a certain amount of days where you can play these games. One more game, I think, would have helped them in the month of December. But they're only going to get 5. And I'm pretty sure that was right. And last year it was 6. So they haven't been in that Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday rhythm, and we'll see. That's going to play a role too. They've had this long break. We'll see if they've worked on what needs to be worked on, and we'll see what this lineup looks like and how well they play together. Maybe we'll see a little bit more fluidity and more chemistry, better chemistry, because what we've seen so far has been piss poor. So, again, I like Arkansas. I don't know UNC Wilmington. The thing is with UNC Wilmington, though, they are deep. Again, they've got about 8. They can go 8. They can go 8 deep. They can play with 8 guys. It's probably going to be about what they might go 9. But their rotation is going to be those names I mentioned just a little bit ago. That's going to be your primary guys to keep an eye on. Again, Trazarian White, who only gets about 20, who's only averaged 27 minutes per game so far this year. He's shooting 45% outside. He's not. I don't know a whole lot about how many shots he's taken outside, but he's a 6'7" forward. But I know he's getting 19 points a game. He's getting almost 6 rebounds a game. That's not far from a double-double average. And he's also getting about 2 assists a game. Looks like they move the ball pretty well too, in what little I've seen. And again, that high, you got to dig 13 assists to just 9 turnovers. Arkansas would kill to be in that. Right, Arkansas would kill to be under to be under. What are they at actually? I just said that. I had that number pulled up. Arkansas is at 13 turnovers a game. They do have nice assist numbers. They're at 12. 13. So yeah, they would kill to have those assist to turnover ratio numbers. I knew it was high on turnovers, but almost 13. That's crazy. Yeah. So kind of need to calm those down, right? But I expect this to probably be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be something like an 85-80 kind of game. It's got that feel to it, or 87-82. But I do like the Hogs. So we'll see. Can Tremont Mark, can he get above his average of 17 points a game or 16.9? Does Khalif Battle? Do we see 4 guards on the floor? Do we see is this going to be up and down the floor, exciting, hopefully high octane basketball when you've got that many guards on the floor, or is Arkansas going to come out looking flat? Can't do it. You can't do it. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm excited. Tip off is at 4? Is that right? 4 p.m. tomorrow? Yeah, 4 p.m. on SEC Network, and we will be here for the post game. So yeah. All right, that is it. Shout out to, again, Patreon supporters. I appreciate you guys. Sponsors, Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company, and, of course, the Oddso Craft Bar and Pizzeria. Click their links if you've got any questions. If you want to look at the menu, I've got the Oddsoul menu in Discord, and I've got Direct Service Overhead. I've got their link, too, if you you want to get in on the 10% off deal that ends on the 1st. They're playing street ball. That's the problem. Musk's got to get these guys focused. They do look like they're playing street ball. It kind of goes back to what we said last week. It's like a bunch of individuals, man. That's street ball. There's no chemistry. There's no playing together. It is street ball. And they need to get out of that because I think, again, their ceiling, considering who these guys are and the success they had elsewhere, I feel like this is a team with a pretty high ceiling. So, but they gotta get together. They gotta play on. They gotta all be on the same page. So, all right, I think we kind of covered everything here. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you on the post game tomorrow. And yeah, go check out the Woo Pig podcast if you guys haven't already. They do a great job. I was talking all that ball and I didn't have the right background on. Damn it! I wish there was a way I could just as soon as OBS knows I'm talking basketball, it switches over to basketball. Anyways, I'll see you guys tomorrow night or tomorrow late evening. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. I'll see you then. Go Hogs.